Good evening and welcome to the Sound Off Show. My name is Linda Kirker. I host the program and I thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm trying to figure out which camera I'm using. Okay. I think we have a really interesting program for you tonight, and I have not been here for the last couple of weeks. I was dealing with a little pneumonia, but I'm feeling much better and ready to zip into the new year. So what I'd like to start with is a little opener. Here we go. The Vermont House of Representatives voted 83 to 66, very recently. They voted for H-511, a bill to legalize marijuana for recreational use. Tomorrow, the Senate is scheduled to vote on the bill, and the governor is expected to sign it. I believe that this bill will prove to be a huge problem for our state and our residents. The bill legalizes both possession and cultivation of marijuana plants. It is beyond me how anyone can vote for legalization of marijuana when it is a drug that is illegal at the federal level. There's apparently no respect for federal law. This bill is a huge disservice to the people of Vermont. Please call Governor Scott, and I'm going to give you the number. It is 802-828-3333. 828-3333. And please ask him to not sign H-511, the marijuana bill. For years, the state of Vermont has been spending beyond its means. Now, proponents of marijuana legalization for recreational use state that Vermont could reap financial rewards from marijuana sales. However, it is likely that we will see higher costs for related health, law enforcement, and educational issues. If it becomes legal to grow 2 mature marijuana plants and 4 immature plants in your home, who will stop the growers from selling pot to teenagers? Will we now need marijuana police? By the way, according to the Medical Marijuana Registry, that's the Medical Marijuana Registry at the state level, there are 5,400 active Vermont patients on the list. So physicians have to sign a paper saying that this individual can use marijuana for whatever the approved health issues are. Vermont physicians, law enforcement officers, and education officials have all stood up against legalization, but have been unheard by their legislators. Why? What is the big motivation to legalize an illegal drug? Who will benefit? Who will lose? How did we get here? It is clear that marijuana is a gateway drug to opioid use. Vermont already has hundreds of drug-addicted Vermonters in treatment facilities and hundreds more waiting for treatment. All I can say is, watch out below. And parents, please warn and educate your children. That is my opener. This is the topic for tonight. My guest tonight is Aubree Adams. Aubree, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you so much for coming all the way from Pueblo, Colorado to Vermont, and I assume with the purpose of helping Vermonters to understand what has happened in Pueblo, Colorado, since legalization.
Correct. Yes, that is why I'm here.
And I believe you have quite a story to tell.
I do, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know, but God bless you for caring enough, for wanting people to understand what happens when you legalize something like this? What can happen to destroy a lot? So with that, let's see here. I think I have some questions for you. This morning there was a pro-pot event at the State House. Did you go?
Yes, we actually just went for a little bit on our way out here.
Tell me a little bit about what ensued there.
Well, we weren't there the whole day. We just went at the tail end, and they had set up vendors to sell. They weren't selling products. They were showing their products.
Of course they were.
They had hemp products available, and CBD products. And then the THC products, they said, were mock packages and stuff. Yeah.
Well, I'd love to know what is the source of pushing this? Who? Why? I know there's nationally the Marijuana Policy Project. I know there's NORML, the National Organization for Legalization of Marijuana.
Yeah.
But locally, in our state, do you have any idea who's promoting this?
I don't know locally. I do know there's another organization called the Drug Policy Alliance that's been pushing this a lot, and they just want to start with marijuana being legalized. They want all drugs legalized.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah. This is just the beginning. They're very funded.
Oh, yeah. Well, somebody's thinking they're going to make a lot of money. I understand it's a $2 billion industry. Have you heard that?
Well, I don't know the figures, but what they legalized here in Vermont won't create any revenue for the state. It's all home grows and personal use. So you'll have people selling from their homes and an under market business that will flourish under this law. It'll be what they passed here. And hopefully we can get the governor to veto it, will just be a front for the drug dealers to come in and set up shop, because that's what's happened in my community.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
I have no doubt at all. And I see this as destroying our society. I'm worried about the young people. Their brains are not fully developed, and yet youth has a big curiosity about all things in life.
Right.
And, why not try it? You know, my friend tried it, and, the next thing you know, you're hooked on it, and it's not enough.
That's right. And you're absolutely right. Youth are risk takers, right? They're testing their boundaries. They're figuring out who they are.
Exactly.
And we don't need to be adding to the problems or the accessibility of drugs they can get into. And this is going to skyrocket the accessibility of the drugs they have available. And you'll have people making products in their home that'll be very high potency products. And the reason why I know that is because they do that in Colorado. So my son had access to those products in friends' homes and at his school.
He had access at school?
Yes, they bring the products to the schools. Yes.
Wait a minute, undercover?
Yeah, undercover. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not they don't set up a booth or anything.
What kind of school is this?
No. I mean, it's totally illegal for them to do that, but that's how. I mean, a lot of these products are made in deceptive forms to disguise use. So the parents won't even know that the kids might have the products when they even bring them home. So you can vape them, you can have them in any form of edibles, anything like that. So,
Vape is when you breathe it in?
yeah, there's like a e-cigarette kind of thing, a vapor, and they can vape the CBD, the THC, or a combination of it too. And some of it's odorless too, so you don't even know.
No kidding. Mm-hmm. Boy, they've been working hard on this, haven't they?
They really are trying to get to the next generation. That's why I wear my shirt, Generation Found. That's what I promote. Instead of Generation Lost, Generation Found. And this is a documentary about youth recovery in Houston, Texas, about a recovery high school called Archway Academy. So the film can be watched in any community. So,
really?
Yes.
You have DVDs?
I don't with me. I just promote them on my own free will. I don't represent them or anything, but my son is part of the recovery community in Houston, Texas. So it's been the miracle that we've needed, and it's a continuum of care, and it's a whole community of recovery. So I promote that everywhere I go, so every community can have what Houston, Texas has.
How old is your son?
17.
And he got into the THC, or?
Yes. Soon after legalization in Colorado in 2014, he started using marijuana edibles and brownies, and he had access to those in his school and at friends' homes. He started self-harming, and at the time we didn't know marijuana was involved. We just thought he was having a hard time through adolescence. So by the time he progressed to his freshman year, it was apparent to us that he was coming home stoned. He was impaired. You know, I don't call it high. To me, that's an impairment, and that's not who you are.
Not good for the developing brain.
Right. And by February of 2015, he had a psychotic break. And that whole week, he was very inconsolable. He was very upset. He was paranoid. He was irrational. He was very angry. There was a particular night that he was so angry towards my younger son that my younger son ran barefoot through 6 inches of snow to get away from him, to get to me. So my son obviously was out of his mind, and he wanted to end it. So he put a gun to his head. He decided not to pull the trigger because he thought he might survive. So he ended up taking about 250 ibuprofen tablets. And I didn't know, and I sent him to bed. So he overdosed, and in his overdose sleep state, in his bedroom, he vomited. I don't know how much. I just know I woke up to a lot in his room. And anyways, I found him on the couch the next morning saying, "Mom, I don't feel good. I don't want to go to baseball practice." So he was hospitalized at that point for 5 days. Was discharged, came back out, and he was still irrational. He was still suicidal. So I had him back in the ER just 5 days after the discharge. And the psych liaison told me that night, "It's just marijuana." Just is the words that were said to me. And you can imagine, as a mother, I was extremely upset.
It's a parent's nightmare, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah. So they discharged us back home. He didn't get any better, so we were back in the ER just a few days later. And I begged the psych liaison that night for help. I said, "I don't know how to keep him safe. He's not in his right mind. I need help." Well, he said, "The problem is there's no available beds in Pueblo, Colorado." So I was really scared. Excuse me if I get emotional. So anyways, they ended up finding a bed in a town about 30 miles north of us, Colorado Springs, and he was hospitalized for another 5 days. After he was discharged from there, I still didn't realize how serious the situation was, but I sat down with him and tried to really talk to him, figure out what's going on. And he said, I was dabbing, Mom, and I knew I was going nuts, and I was trying to quit.
What is dabbing?
So dabbing is high potency marijuana.
Oh dear.
It's looks like heroin. They call it hash, oil, butter, shatter, wax. He said, "Mom," because I said, what is a dab? I didn't know either. And he said, "It's really strong marijuana, Mom. It's like crack weed." So I had to really research and educate myself, and I found out that they make these products in the supposedly legal industry in our community.
Legal.
Yeah, it's not legal, but they call it legal. And they make them in homes too. It's illegal to make them in the homes, but they do it anyways. We have fires and explosions a lot in Colorado, so a lot of times that is what's contributing to this, because they use butane to extract the THC from the plant. And I will have to agree with my son. It is crack weed, and it's normalized and it's promoted, and they're told that it treats of various medical conditions. So we went on a cycle of addiction, and we Ended up volunteering our family for crisis intervention with the Department of Social Service because this was beyond my parenting skills.
No, well, naturally.
Yeah. So then he did get sober for a while, but then he relapsed and he moved on to meth and heroin. And by this time, he was 16. And anyways, he went into treatment for 3 months.
So he started at what, 15?
14.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And who was feeding him that? Who was making that available to him?
Well, it's available throughout our community. So he had it available in friends' homes. He had it available. We had a huge influx of homeless people in our community. He could get some from the homeless people.
Did the legalization bring in more people?
Yes.
Who
Yes.
are interested in drugs?
Yes. We are a fairly poor community. About 40% of our population is on Medicaid. And when the legalization hit, there was a big party from one of the marijuana owners, and it really attracted a lot of homeless people. Some of them came with good intentions to work in the industry, but they came without jobs, without resources. Some of them came with severe mental and physical disabilities. And so we had all these homeless people that we couldn't serve, we couldn't help. And so our social services were very stressed.
I would think so.
And one agency had to close down because the clientele was violent and they were getting their places broken into and stuff. So yeah, we did have a problem. We still have a problem. Then the Salvation Army closed their warming shelter in our community because they couldn't serve all of Colorado. They closed ours because we were a smaller community, and I think they focused more on the Denver area at that point. So it was a big tragedy.
What a nightmare.
Yeah, the lady from Posada, Ann Stadelman, she is quoted as, human suffering is increasing in our community, and it is the saddest thing she's ever seen.
And it was, now, was it wasn't the legislature, was it, that voted in your state?
No, it was a public.
I think Vermont is one of the first, if not the first, legislature
Right.
to vote on this. So how did it happen in your state?
It was a public vote, and there was a huge campaign comparing marijuana with alcohol, which is not a good comparison. If you're going to compare marijuana to another substance, you need to compare it to tobacco. And out of all the drugs that kill, tobacco is the number one killer, 500,000 people a year. And so they manipulate the public.
Of course.
Saying that, oh, nobody overdoses and dies from marijuana. Well, they die in other ways. They die because of the problems that it's caused their body, through their lungs or heart. But they die from psychotic breaks. And one of the main reasons why people die from marijuana is suicide. It's a 7-fold increase to suicide risk.
Wow.
And that's with low potency marijuana. We have this high potency marijuana that's never been studied before. So the public had the right to put all of us at risk and sign us up for this huge experiment when, we didn't want it. I guess we were the minority that didn't want it, but I don't think the public, in my opinion, has the right to vote drug policies in when they don't even know what they're voting in.
Exactly. Well, maybe that's why they do it that way.
Yeah, I agree.
But we have a legislature that, already the House has voted for it.
Yeah.
And I think the Senate is supposed to vote tomorrow.
Yes.
And then the word is that the governor has said he would sign it.
Yeah, and I'm disappointed because I was brought here to have a press conference and speak to the legislatures to let them know my story of what happened to my son and my community, and only a few showed up. And then I sat and watched the House debate and try to get some amendments to try to get some more control over this bill, and it was ignored. They ignored the recommendations from law enforcement, from the educators, from the medical community,
absolutely.
and they ignored me. So I think it's a tragedy what's happening to Vermont. I've never been here before. I'm glad to be here, but I definitely want to stand in the way of drugs here any way I can.
Absolutely. Well, hold on a minute, Aubree. We have a caller.
Okay.
Caller, what's on your mind?
Well, it's nice that you got a very informative show tonight, Linda. I want to give you a compliment, it's from the people that is affecting the family, because a lot of people don't realize, starting off with marijuana will lead up to other drugs, whether it's heroin or cocaine and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But what we have to do is we have to get the dealers, and the court system here in the state of Vermont stinks. Because, when a lot of these dealers, they should be put away for a long time, especially if they, depending on how much, drugs are brought in to the, Vermont and stuff like that, out of Boston, Montreal, and these other places.
Well, now we're going to be a haven for them, aren't we?
Yeah.
Come to Vermont and sell your drugs.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, there was a grandmother and a grandfather coming from California. They had 80 pounds of marijuana, and they were giving it to their kids for a Christmas present.
Oh, I remember reading that.
Where's the common sense these days?
Yeah.
No, there ain't any common sense. We need to get back to morals, and get people to church, because, if you go to church, and get the gospel that you need from any church, I don't care whether it's Baptist or whatever, to bring the morals back to society, because the morals is very little left.
Well, that's, if the parents get into the drug scene, then I'm making an assumption here that, I hope I'm wrong, but that the children don't get the kind of guidance that they need to respect themselves enough. I'm not saying, casting any aspersions on you. Kids go off and do their own thing without the parents even knowing.
Right, and a key thing to keeping kids out of drug is their peers. They're going to listen to their peers more than their parents at some point, because they're trying to get their independence. And if you've got a lot of kids using, the chances of your kid using go up high. And in our community, a lot of the kids are using. I mean, you can come talk to law enforcement, the medical community, the teachers. The teachers on our community, some of them carry air fresheners in their classrooms, because the kids coming in smelling like weed, and you can't get the kids in trouble because they smell like weed, so they just mask it.
And you can't do anything legally because it's legal.
Well, yeah, and my son was caught with marijuana probably 4 or 5 times, and law enforcement just threw it out. It's not.
So there are no boundaries, no barriers,
Yeah.
no consequences.
That's right. Accountability is the key, and I was begging for accountability at numerous points through this, because I couldn't get control of the situation, and he was just plummeting down the road of mental illness. And
What a shame.
I know, it was hard. So.
I know of one case where a young man went off to college and was playing sports, and the team players were involved in the drug scene.
Wow.
So, you make a great point, and the man who came here recently, Bob Orlick, had brought him here, and he had lost his son, and because of a situation around marijuana.
Oh, Daryl Rogers.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. And so sad.
Yeah.
So sad. And what can you do? Are you still there? Oh, he must have signed off. Okay. Well, what else did you? I have other questions here, but I want to know, Aubree, do you know who or what drove the legalization in your area?
Specifically, no. I know the Drug Policy Alliance and Normal that you've mentioned, and my understanding is George Soros funds them.
Oh, we have another caller.
Okay.
Oh, George Soros, anti-America,
Yeah.
big time. Okay, caller, what's on your mind tonight?
Yeah, well, I got cut off accidentally, so I wanted to call back. I'm very pleased that this movement is coming out because drugs even affect my family, and on my brother's side and stuff like that. So it affects every family. It doesn't make a difference whether you're rich or poor. It affects every family because once they get into this stuff, it just snowballs and snowballs. And having this young lady coming on and talking about it, she ought to talk about it in schools. What's going on, and try to get some of those kids to get off of it. But we need to get to the dealers. We need to get the court system so it works. And when you have 235 cases, every second and fourth Monday of the month for different charges, it's ridiculous. It's like a zoo down there.
Well, maybe we can get this DVD into some of the schools. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
The things that the young people need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've worked with a couple people to try to get them in our schools because I realized I was in a battle with the marijuana culture in our community. And so my solution to that problem was I couldn't control what was happening in the community. We tried to push the industry out. We had 257 physicians sign a document out of 300 physicians we have in our community saying we don't want this industry anymore because they are on the front line seeing the psychosis, the suicides, and all the mental illnesses coming with it. They see the kids testing positive. They see the babies testing positive.
Oh, yes.
We've had our Caring Pregnancy Center, the 27% of the moms are testing positive for THC. And that doesn't include all the other drugs on top of it. So anyways, empowering the children is the key to this because I don't know what the future holds. But unfortunately, in our town in Pueblo, the city schools have not allowed the speakers I brought to town in. Or
kidding.
Me or the physicians that have asked to go talk to them.
Why would that be?
I don't know. I don't know. But I got us in a couple of the charter schools. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Well, we've delved a little bit into the outcomes based on marijuana legalization in your area. I wrote down some questions here. Does Colorado's marijuana law have any restrictions as to the age at which you can legally purchase it?
Yeah, 21 years of age, you could purchase it. But, were we able to keep alcohol out of the hands of kids or tobacco out of the hands of kids? I mean, you just pay some person to go get whatever you want out of the stores. And if you come to the stores and you kind of watch what's going on, especially the one coming into our town, you see out-of-state cars running in and out of that parking lot all day long.
I bet you do. Mm-hmm. Well, and what about increased crime?
Oh, yeah, we have increased crime, big time. We're known for especially our car thefts. So Pueblo, Colorado, you can look it up. The article just came out a few days ago that our car thefts are skyrocketing because our cars are stolen to traffic drugs and people, and then they're dumped somewhere, either abandoned or caught on fire, or they're dumped in another community because there's this constant market going on, and it's really sad. I mean, you have a high chance of getting your house broken into, your car stolen in Pueblo, Colorado. And I hate to talk bad about Pueblo because the heart of Pueblo are like really good, hardworking people, farmers and ranchers, people that serve one another. It's just really good home values. And we've just been bombarded by this pot industry that's giving us a bad name. Our county commissioner calls us the Napa Valley of cannabis. Aww. And it's just it's really sad is what it is.
Now, you mentioned something about the number of people on Medicaid.
Yes.
Do you know that Vermont has 1/3 of its population on Medicaid?
Wow, and then they're going to add all this into the mess. And those people are poor to begin with. So now you're saying they can grow marijuana in their house. Guess what's going to happen? you've made stay-at-home jobs, and those jobs are drug dealing jobs. I guarantee you're going to have a lot of people not following the law, because of the way I understand this law. I think it was the 2 plants, 4 immature plants.
That's my understanding.
But they have unlimited storage. So what does that tell you? That a lot of that marijuana is.
Where do they get the plants?
Well, where do they get the seeds? They're going to have to traffic in all that too.
Oh, they grow it their own through seeds?
Seeds or plants. How do they get them in the state of Vermont? If they're, I don't know. They have to cost.
I thought they were buying plants, but they grow their own. Okay.
I think either way they could. I don't know where they buy them. That's an interesting question, because it seems like they would have to break the law to get the marijuana here. Now, the argument is they say, well, the marijuana is already here, but they're just going to add to it. I don't get that.
Well, a man I know who's quite informed figured out how many smokes you could get out of one mature plant a day, I believe it was. It was 22.
Yeah.
Now, what one person is going to have 22 smokes a day? So what are they going to do with it?
They're going to sell it.
Yes. And I fear that young people are going to get involved in this.
And they will, unfortunately. So everybody needs to call the governor and have him veto this bill. You know, vetoing this bill will be a preventative measure. This bill is promotion. So that's why I try to educate the community. We need to focus, our country, every state, every community needs to focus on prevention and recovery. We have a drug crisis that is out of control. And when you legalize, you promote. So why would you want to do that in the middle of a drug crisis? And so, yeah.
We already have a huge drug addiction problem here. We have a brand new addiction facility, you know, to help people deal with their addiction right here in St. Albans on South Main Street. And there are others in the state. There are going to need to be a lot more.
Oh, yeah, you won't be able to handle it all. We can't handle it.
I think the costs are going to, when I hear a promoter of legalization of marijuana saying, oh, the state's going to make money. No, because whatever money is made is going to be far less than the cost of health care and addiction support and law enforcement. All of these, you know, we've had people driving and having accidents.
Oh, yeah.
We had our crime rate is up already without legalization.
Yep, and our fatality rate.
Oh, we have
doubled.
a caller. Caller, welcome to the program. What's on your mind tonight?
Hi, this is Bob from Randolph. I just was just wondering if you could ask your guest, Aubree, to kind of paint a picture for us so we can see what is going to be like here in Vermont in a couple of years if this bill goes through, if the governor signs this bill. Can she kind of just give us a visual picture of what it's like on her street and what she sees on a daily basis and so forth, and maybe even comment on the kind of criminal activities that you see there and the effect of, you know, just on your daily life, like walking around with your dog and doing stuff like that. If you could comment on that, I'd really appreciate that.
Good idea.
Sure. So in my neighborhood, I live in a nice neighborhood, but it doesn't matter anymore. Every neighborhood's affected. We had a gentleman by the name of Brad Fowler who was growing marijuana in his home. And on December 2nd, 2016, 3 men from Oklahoma came to purchase marijuana from him, and they shot him dead in the street.
Oh.
It was at 9 a.m. on a Friday morning, 100 feet away from my parents' garage, 3 blocks away from my house.
Oh, my.
We have never had this problem before. Condolences to his family. I don't agree with what he was doing, but it was very sad when I drove by and saw him laying there and they're putting the white sheets around. This is a picture of the DEA coming out of a house. This house is across the street from two of the doctors that speak out about the harms that has happened to the community. This was a marijuana house. Cuban cartels came and set up shop. I don't know if you can see it, but right up here, there's like a wall up there, so nobody can see inside the house. So they just put like a wall up there to grow the plants. After this was all said and done, I came around and I walked around the house, and you can see the hoses they brought into the back to water the plants. So Cuban cartels in our neighborhoods. We had people from Argentina, Russia, Honduras, Mexico, all Asian cartels, and they have come to the state of Colorado to hide behind these laws. I never knew of any cartels in our neighborhoods.
Right.
I never knew of any murders. The house across the alleyway from me was a marijuana grower, and on a Tuesday afternoon at about 2 p.m., they were held up by gunpoint to come steal their marijuana. The street right next to me was blocked off because there was a psychotic lady with a gun. The media report said she was psychotic off narcotics. Marijuana is a narcotic. They're very careful what the media reports, but we know it. And then my neighbors. This is what's a tragedy about. If you want this next to you, these are reasons why you need to write your governor, call your governor today to veto this bill. So that my other neighbors that live 2 doors down from the house that was held up by gunpoint have 3 young kids.
Oh boy.
Like to play in the backyard with their kids. They have a little dog. The other neighbor, not the one that got held up by gunpoint, on the other side of them are marijuana users. So the smell and the smoke would come out and be so strong they would have to go into the house. It would just get too much, and they'd hang the marijuana plants outside the back porch to dry. So soon the marijuana smoke started coming into their house. You know, they wanted to open their window. It was a nice day.
Oh, dear.
The weather is very mild compared to a lot of places in Colorado. Pueblo kind of has this really great weather. So then they have to close the windows. Then they turn their swamp coolers on. That's how we cool our houses there. And the swamp coolers would draw in the smoke. And here they have 3 little kids. I mean, you think this won't affect you. This will affect you. Do you want this next door to you? So one day the wife came home, and the marijuana smell was so strong in their house, she thought somebody had broke in and was smoking in their house.
Wow.
And she looked around. Nobody was there. You know, she thought somebody was in the basement. It was so strong. So
And this isn't going to happen in just low-income areas.
No.
This is, regular, nice households.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. If you look up some of the media reports on the cartels that were taken down, some of them are in really nice areas. There was one in Colorado Springs about a month ago where the guy came with a gun to steal the guy's marijuana. And you look at this neighborhood, it's just a normal-looking neighborhood. And they interviewed the mom who lives next door with a couple young kids. She goes, and the person ran off. They didn't catch him that held up this house. She says, what if they come back? I mean, they want the marijuana. What if they come back? You know, here we have like stores galore that sell marijuana.
I was going to ask you about that.
But
Yeah.
they're still coming, and all this crime is there, stealing it from the homes.
Well, sure, because the homeowner is probably more vulnerable
Yeah.
than the storefront,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. It's more
but
easy.
we're asking for a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
I know that. It's not just for the kids, it's for families at large. You look what you went through with your son.
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell us more.
Well, here's a quote. I won't use the lady's name.
Excuse me, we
okay.
have another caller.
All right.
Caller, welcome to the program. Hello.
How you doing, Linda?
Hi.
Hi, Linda. Can you hear me?
I can.
Are you feeling better?
Yes, thank you, Andy. What's on your mind about this marijuana thing?
Well, I'm thinking this is more of a statement than it is a question.
Okay.
And I just wanted to say that I guess our legislatures don't remember what happened to the Roman Empire when they absolutely had no morality and they passed these, they did whatever they wanted to do. I can't believe that our state is going to pass a marijuana bill when they don't believe that this is a gateway drug. And anybody that voted on that bill down there must be smoking some weed themselves, because as you said earlier in your show, we just built a beautiful facility here in St. Albans so that these people using these drugs can go have a place to, do their drugs. And I can't believe we're at a point in our life where they're going to pass a drug bill to allow these people to smoke this stuff legally, and think that this is not going to affect our young people who are going to think that, well, I guess drugs are okay.
Exactly. It sends a message that, well, if it's legal, this must be perfectly safe, right? Which is not true. So we do need to get into the schools proactively and do the best we can do to make sure that they understand. Thank you, Andy. Oh, he's gone. So go ahead.
Okay, so this is a quote from one of the residents of Pueblo County. I won't use her name because they're scared to speak up, and you'll understand why after I read this. She put on Facebook, and she put a picture on Facebook of them picking up a dead cow on the side of the road. And she says, "I'm not even sure how to word this, but I'm so blank sick of things like this happening out here. Everyone thinks it's so great to have legal pot. Well, this is what you open the door to. We have 5 Cuban-owned grow houses in less than 2 miles. I can see 2 from my house. The last 6 months, I've had huge trash dumps on the road. We've had dead horses wrapped in tarps dumped on the road. This dead cow was dumped along our pasture. Never before in 8 years I've lived here. The grow on the corner was abandoned because the guy was killed. I'm sick of it. Now all their trash, all the plastic and plywood is blowing over in the fall and the storms. How much did one grow north of me and their actions cost taxpayers? 3 large vehicles and 5 county employees coming out every time to clean up this mess. I'm trying to raise a family and operate a business in the middle of this. Is there a vote to repeal? I'm there."
That's extremely interesting. We have another caller.
Okay.
Welcome to the show, caller. What's on your mind?
Hi, Linda. This is Marie.
Hi, Marie.
Hi. Listen, I cannot believe that we have spent millions of dollars of teaching these children not to smoke, and yet in Montpelier they're going to pass legalized drugs, legalized marijuana, so these kids could probably start smoking all over again. Is somebody going down and telling them this? Is someone telling the Montpelier group? Are they deaf? We have all these drugs at night. You hear every night on the news the opioid problems, and yet right after they're going to legalize marijuana in Montpelier. Are they crazy? Have they lost their mind? Has our governor lost his mind?
There's no logic to this that doesn't make sense. There has to be some strong entity pushing this, and I don't know who or what it is, but we do know that it's one way that we can destroy our generations and society.
Obviously, they're going to destroy them. I mean, these kids, they're not going to have a choice. Not a choice. They're not going to have a chance. And I cannot believe. I gather that probably in looking at when you see the group down there, that these are all people that were probably grew up in the 60s and started smoking the marijuana back in the 60s, which I understand is probably nothing compared to the marijuana of today.
That's right. It's today's marijuana. We have no idea of the purity or the potency, how strong it is. But what I understand is that the strength of the marijuana is much higher than years ago. Marie, thank you so much for your thoughts.
Thank you.
Call the governor, 828-3333.
I will.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye now.
Yeah, marijuana is a gateway to tobacco and other drugs and pharmaceuticals.
When I was, several years ago, when I was in the legislature, I was on the Health and Welfare Committee. And that's when the vote came up for legalizing marijuana for medical use. And having a nursing background and doing my homework, I voted no. It still passed. But I did what I felt was right, and I wrote an article for a magazine that, let me see, the facts were at that time that there are 70% more carcinogens in marijuana than there are in regular cigarettes. And we have another caller. I can't believe this. Caller, welcome to the program. What's on your mind?
Hi, Linda. This is Robert. The reason I'm calling, we've been listening to you, and I'm really pleased with the sounds of the callers that are coming in here. And I would just like to make a suggestion that those people sound like they should be the ones that are running for office.
I agree.
And maybe what we should be doing, and I think we will be doing, is putting a list of these names out that voted for this, and let's make sure that we get them out of office. I know two names that I think really should be targeted for removal from office are Dick Sears from down in the Bennington area and Joe Benning from up in the St. Johns area. One's a Republican, the second one, Joe Benning, and Dick Sears is a Democrat. And they almost seem obsessed with getting this passed. And so I think that is something that we should be thinking about. One of your guests said that it doesn't make sense, why this is happening. I would comment that it makes dollars. It makes billions of dollars of sense. And there is no other reason for this other than money. If you that's what I would ask when they call their legislators, they should ask them, why are you doing this? And see if you can get a logical answer, because when I've asked those questions, there's a lot of silence on the other end. And they start giving you information about how, it's going to help with payment of treatment and payment of more enforcement. Well, that doesn't make any sense at all. Why are you going to get taxes in order to treat people that you're legalizing the drug, so there'll be more of it, and you got to have more police officers so you can arrest them because they're using it? It doesn't make any sense. And the ultimate thing that I think I'd like to ask the lady from Colorado whether she can comment on what the financial condition of Colorado is right now. They did this for money. And are they reaping the benefits? And are we seeing a lot of, just wonderful economic growth there as a result of the marijuana industry? Or how do you relate the cost? What do you see about the cost there? And I'll go off the line here now.
Great question. Thank you.
I believe we have a deficit, so there's nothing. Our schools haven't seen it. There's no benefits. We need to track the money. Where's the money going?
Boy, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Who's reaping the benefits of this?
Yeah.
It's certainly not good for our society.
Yeah.
It's one more nail in the coffin of a healthy society.
Right.
And I cannot, as this gentleman just stated, I cannot believe that there is one iota of common sense to this whole bill.
Right.
So again, folks, call the governor's office and say, I do not want you, be polite, but I do not want you to sign, please do not sign the marijuana bill. And the number is at his office, 802-828-3333.
And ask him if he'll meet with me longer. I only have like 5 minutes with him tomorrow at like a coffee thing.
5 minutes?
Yeah, it's like a public where anybody could come in and talk to him for like 5 minutes.
Well, maybe we need to get some other people to go in there and talk with
Yeah,
him,
that
too.
would be great. Come on down. It's from 8:30 to 9:30 at the State House. So
I wonder if all of those minutes are...
the more we can get people, the more we can...
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be wonderful
Well,
if everybody could show up.
It's time for the citizens to rise up and say, enough.
That's right. Eradicate this. The churches, the community organizations, medical community, law enforcement, you need to gather your forces because you don't want this coming to your state.
No, I think we need to band together.
Yes.
That's a good
And I
idea.
support you all the way.
Well, let's see. Okay, homelessness.
Yeah.
You have more of that.
Oh, yeah. We have a lot more homeless. Let's see. Our Posadas, they used to serve about 2,444 people before legalization, and by 2016, it was over 7,800.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
I believe it. And drug dealers, international,
International, local, everywhere. Yes.
they're there.
They're there.
How do you ever get rid of that?
Well, I think the federal government's going to have to come in with the National Guard. It's really that out of control. The law enforcement are doing everything they can with the resources and the funds they have. El Paso County, which is a county north of us, the sheriff was saying they have 560 marijuana grows in their county, and most of them are illegal.
They're not Americans, you mean?
Some of them might be Americans, some of them might not. You know, I'm sure it's a combination of all of them. But what I understand it in the federal government, you know, Sessions. Oh, we have another call.
Oh, my goodness. Caller, welcome to the program.
Thanks.
What's on your mind?
Hi. I've been listening. Now, the purpose of the bill is for personal use, right?
Yes, and homegrown.
Yeah, supposedly for you to be able to grow for your own use.
Okay. And everybody's wondering what the reason is, why there's no profit for the state in this.
Well, there's first of all, the drug is illegal at the federal level. Okay,
Right.
so why any of this is happening in the first place? I just don't understand. It's breaking the law.
Right.
Anybody who votes for this is voting to break federal law.
Yeah.
Right.
You never make money off any drug. We don't make any money off whether you commercialized it or whether it's home use. There's no money to be made. We're not making money off alcohol or tobacco. The
Right.
costs outweigh the benefits. So we're adding fuel to the
That's what
fire.
I was just wondering, is this the first step and then they want to do like Colorado where you can go into these stores and buy it?
Yeah, I would agree with that statement.
They're-
This is the first step.
They're laying out the groundwork for the...
Yes.
For the next steps.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's most likely. And how the people who are pushing this ever got so many House members to vote for this. And as my guest Aubree said, you know, ask them why. Why are you voting for this?
Well, there must be something in it for them.
Well, who knows?
Well,
The way the corruption is nowadays, it's like the megabucks that was supposed to help fund for schools.
Yeah, well, a certain portion.
It's not doing a thing, is it?
Well, a portion of that money does go to support the education fund. I don't know, I don't recall what portion it is, but we're on a path of no return
Oh, yeah.
with this.
I agree.
And I feel like I grew up in a totally different country, and I feel badly for the young people, and I urge anybody who's watching the show tonight to not only call the governor and say, please do not sign this marijuana bill,
Yep.
but also to get into the schools or the scout troops or whatever the churches and to talk with the young people about how this can ruin your life.
I don't think that's going to happen because you know what? There's no morals anymore. And it's getting to the point where society, everything goes. Everything's being accepted with no rebuttals and kids. I had a boy this summer do my lawn, and he's 15. He said he started smoking pot at 13 years old.
What a shame.
His father does it. His grandmother does it.
What a shame.
Isn't that nice?
No, it isn't nice. Well, you know what? We cannot give up. We have to have hope. We have to hopefully bring people together who want to stand up against this and say you're not going to ruin our state and the lives of our people, especially our youth. How we get that to happen. You know, this government of ours, this national government, was meant to be a government of, by, or of, for, by, and, wait a minute, of,
for the people.
By, and for the people.
Yes.
Thank you. And now we have a government for the government.
Pretty much.
And
Pretty much.
so we do need to elect new people who don't get it.
Right. And I would just like to add to the conversation of morals and stuff, an observation I made while I was at the State House before the House of Representatives was voting on this. They were having a party where there was food and there was beer and wine.
You're kidding.
No. I was floored. I was just standing there. Now,
In the State House?
in the State House. They had beer and wine. Some of the reps were drinking, and then they went in after that and voted on this bill.
Oh, my.
And they're drinking on the job when the taxpayers are paying them
Are
to be
you
there
sure?
to work for us.
Yeah, I had other people with me that can verify
Well,
this.
there's your answer, Linda.
And I'm not saying all of them were doing that. I'm not even saying which ones were doing it. I wasn't keeping tabs, but I found it very ironic that here they were voting on a bill that's going to devastate Vermont, that is probably one of the most serious bills you can vote on, and some of them are having a drink.
Well, thank you, caller. I
You're welcome. Good
appreciate
night.
your thoughts. Good night. We're down to the last minute or so. Time flies,
Yes, it does.
right, when you have important stuff to
Yeah.
talk about. So I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, for coming to Vermont at your own expense, and because your heart is in the right place and you care about the people of Vermont. And I thank you so much for that. And you're a good person.
Oh, thank you so much. So are you. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me. Thanks
You're
for this
welcome.
opportunity.
You're welcome. And folks, once again, please call the governor's office, 802-828-3333. Let's barrage his phone and have him realize that the people of Vermont do not want this tragedy to befall our state and our people. So with that, I guess we're pretty much done.
And they can show up tomorrow morning.
Yes, they can show up tomorrow morning at the State House.
8:30 to 9:30.
8:30 to 9:30. See if you can get an appointment to spend 5 minutes with the governor and tell him how you feel. Okay, I got to sign off. Have a great week. I'll see you next week.